everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is, I cannot believe we're already into the very third week of June 2018. And just sharing, I shared the weekly vibe and mantra. I thought I'd share a little bit more about the energy that's going on. It's really important throughout the week and actually all the way through the end of June to really work on being present. A couple things that are happening that can be extremely distracting. A lot of things that happen with Gemini, which Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, which is communication. So we can have a lot of miscommunication right now. A lot of people that are having a lot of misunderstandings. We've got a couple other planets that are affecting that, but one of the things I would say is paranoia. Paranoia is going to be really high. But not only that, a lot of people will be having some issues with you'll have issues with your skin. And when I talk about skin issues, what I mean by that is like rashes, crazy things, things that that are affected because of the planet. We've got Aquarius it's doing some dances with some of the other planets, and I can share more about that later, but just share with you that it's affecting the neurological system, and the neurological system affects our skin. So it's really important right now to be as natural as you can and organic as you can. And when you think of the word, or you think of like the term organic, a lot of us think, okay, organic farming, veganism, vegetarian, but organic in the sense of connecting it to our human life means getting back to the basics, the simplicity, the organic life that we were meant to live. Many of us, we work so many hours a week. We are raising kids. They're in dance. They're in wrestling, they're in cheer, they're in hockey, and we're running from here to there. We've gotten away from things that are natural. We've stopped teaching our kids and families how to plant the seeds. So, we can go organic, but then we run to the grocery store. The kids aren't, our generation needs to really, and I'm in the X generation, and so I have kids that are millennials all the way down to kids that are teenagers now. And what have we taught them? Have we taught them to sow the seeds? Sow the seeds of really like looking at their bodies and taking care of things. Most of us who are in the X generation, much of our generation, we kind of got stuck in that in-between where we were raised by a lot of baby boomers, but some of us were also raised from that generation of like real strong activism, and which can create quite a mix with relationships. So women, for me, I was raised by baby boomer parents where my mom stayed home and my father actually worked, and it was wonderful. I can tell you, like a Leave It to Beaver childhood, very much something that most people could only wish for. I had some challenges along the way, and this would have nothing to do with my parents, but it has to do with extended family that caused me to go through, just some childhood struggles. But those things I do believe have brought me to be the person that I am, but have also brought me to some challenges. I think the biggest challenge, though, as part of that X generation, is that we were raised in a time where everything was about Gloria Vanderbilt. It was about Calvin Klein. And no offense, because I love Gloria Vanderbilt sexually. I love the jeans. They fit me well, and I like Calvin Klein. But if that makes sense, it's like what you wear, what the branding is. Everything was branded, but it was also a time where things were flourishing. It was just like we took for granted, the abundance of things. And then what happened was the people that are a little bit older than us, they were out there and they were having children, and so we had some that were baby boomers that believed in that old-fashioned value of staying home and having your children, the mother and the father, keeping things simple. And then we had the other ones that, you know, and both of them, not one of them is right or wrong, but it has created a mix-up between the masculine and feminine energy. And, you know, the ones where the women are out there and they're like, hey, we're going to work the job, we're going to do this, and the guy can stay home, and that's okay. And we ended up with a lot of single moms, a lot of moms that even chose to be single and have children. But the thing is we've kind of gotten away. If you really think about it, there's a confusion that occurred because people in my generation, we went from either knowing things one way or knowing things another, and then here we come to what I call, like in the tarot, it's kind of crazy, but it's the lover's stage, and that's that part of the process. As I teach the tarot, I like to teach about the path to enlightenment and all the stages we go through, where it's like, okay, whether you're a female to female or male to male, we all are like learning about opposites, love, affection. And so we ended up with groups of mixed people that are like literally people like me that were raised by parents that were there, and then other kids that were latchkey. So here, you know, the poor guys that are my age are like, should I hold the door open for that girl because she might literally smack my hand? Or, you know, women who are like, hey, I want somebody to care for me, but here's this guy who was raised in a way where the mom did everything. And you know, so, you know, there's like a big mix-up. I mean, honestly, I think that the X generation, I'm going to stick up for many of you because it's not been easy, and people seem to think that it was an easy generation to be in. No, because it was like, it's just kind of like I call it hobo, a hobo stew of just a bunch of different personalities put together, and ideals. And boy, if you even look at the 80s, a lot of unhealthy things. Tanning beds were popular. I mean, just like I remember taking the Pepsi and Coke test, and so we didn't know a lot about a lot of things. We weren't informed. You know, medications. Hey, you know, it's really good to take this antidepressant and your life will change. You'll be able to cope with things. And many parents that I talk to, many people my age that have been parents, especially mothers, have a lot of guilt. And a lot of kids I talk to, and I do this a lot, they'll be talking about their parents and they'll say, wow, well, she was never there for me. Or maybe it's a single mom or single dad. They were never there. They didn't understand. Or, you know, and I always have to say, really, well, let me tell you from another perspective as a mother who raised children on her own and financially provided for my children myself. You know, there's a lot of guilt that comes from a mom when you have this you know, background of growing up with two parents that raised me. They did everything, you know, for me, and they were there. I had that balance. All of a sudden, where you're kind of like well, not kind of, you are. Like many moms I talk to, and then I just want to share this and support the moms and the dads. And also support the relationship between the parents and the children. We're thrown into this like really big mess of how do we do this? I feel so guilty. Here my child is asking me, you know, can you go here? But then I have a mortgage to pay, and I feel guilty. And so I hear from a lot of kids how their parents are literally trying to explain to them why they can't attend things. Well, you know, I have to support you. I have to make money, so I can't attend your event. And so it was really interesting because that's me. I actually did that. Instead of, you know, because I didn't have that partner to support me or help me to explain things, because I did most of it. I did about, I would say about 80% of it on my own. And it wasn't easy to be both that male and female. But I also can say that one of the mistakes a lot of us made was that we tried explaining to our children why we could, because we felt guilty. This is why we can't do this. This is why we can't be there. And then what happened is our kids began to feel resentful. And talking to kids, some of the things they've told me is, hey, I didn't ask to be born. You know, I didn't ask. I mean, I shouldn't feel guilty that you have to work, make money, things like that. And, you know, that is really true. That's very true. But I like to, you know, when I talk to these parents, and it's been a good 20 years that I've been spending a lot of time talking to people in the X generation. And most of you who are in the X generation would be below the age of 55, and you know, I think that they say like 44 to 55. You can correct me, but trying to help heal those parent-child relationships, because a lot of them have had, like me, having parents that were my mom supported by my dad, because they're the different things that they had, and you know, values and that, and my mom and dad, the things they learned, they were able to take into the household. Where for me, I, you know, went into a household where it was very different. I didn't even know what it was like. I was like absolutely shocked to have somebody yell and fight, and I didn't know. I didn't understand it. Actually, I remember blaming, you know, myself, like, what am I doing wrong? Oh my gosh, I didn't know how to handle it. And I'm sure some of you can relate to me. And I'm not trying to live in the past, but what I'm trying to explain is organic, what organic means, because it has taken me quite a lot of time, quite some time to get to that organic. And I will really give credit to my children, to the millennial generation, because as I was explaining away, they were going and they were living their life, and they were simplifying because they didn't want to clutter things up. And so many of you that are very much in that situation where you felt like, well, gosh, I wish I could have seen more, could have done more, could have been a better parent. And, you know, and maybe even your kids would look at your parents as being like grandma and grandpa being mom and dad. You are the parent. That's what I'm going to say. And you did the best that you could. And just the fact that you even think about it or question yourself, and you say, wow, did I do the best that I could? Because, you know, I feel really bad and my kids are complaining and that. You don't have to make excuses anymore. In your heart, you will know what you did. And I can honestly tell you, when your kids have kids, they'll understand too. So stop beating yourself up. I can tell you that. And don't blame, like I did, where I got mad at my parents, because it's not their fault. They only did the best that they could in the situation to help. And so, you know, that jealousy can be there where, well, gosh, I wish I could have been the one that was home with my kids. And the nice thing is if you have parents and they're able to provide that, at least your children are receiving some type of nurturing and love. And chances are the reason your kids have gotten upset is because you felt guilt. From the very beginning, you were putting that energy out there that you weren't doing something right. And when you do that, that holds a value. And so when we go back to the whole term of organic, organic is who you are, what you put out there, and then what you live. And so many parents, you know, that I've talked to who actually like have put a lot of blame on themselves, and like literally just like the nerves started getting bad. And you know, a lot of people in this generation developing a lot of diseases in their body. You know, it's not too late. You can get past these diseases. You don't have to say, I'm going to be forever. This is when fibromyalgia came out. This is when arthritis came. You see a lot of this stuff. I'm sure a lot of this happened before, but I'm just giving the example that a lot of this became known because depression also marries what we call oppression. And so there was a lot of feelings of oppressiveness. Well, we're out of that now because our kids have actually, now they're grown up, and what they're doing is they're saying, hey, you know what? So Mom, I know that you did your best, and there's only so much you could do. So now what I'm going to do is even do better, and I'm going to keep it simple. You know, as a mom, I can remember Pokemon cards, and it's like, oh gosh, I can't be there for my kids, but maybe I could work a little bit overtime and make sure they have all the Pokemon cards they could imagine. But the thing is all the while that other part of me was just suffering because I miss them so much. So this is a time now where we can actually get rid of things that are making our life cluttered, and that's what our millennials are teaching us, because they've kind of like they've come into quite a lot of challenges, if you really think about it. Challenges, a lot of debt, even with education. It's not the same anymore. When we were younger, it was easier to step into jobs, from a college education, or so we had a whole different set of challenges, and our millennials now they're going to roll it back and take it into the present, and that's what being organic is. It's all about saying, you know what, we're going to go back to what is natural. We're going to plant the seeds of wisdom, and we're going to plant the seeds of going back to learning, learning your trade, doing things, building your own home, simplifying things. We don't need to have, a ping pong table, a pool table, all these things that, and then you work all these hours and have no time to even enjoy them. It's about sharing. It's about community. It's about doing things together. And it is about being as organic as possible. And that is like going right back to the soil. And because our our body comes, our body, we've got spirit, which comes from a higher space, and it's whatever you believe. And then our body comes from the earth. We need to nurture our body and take care of our body. And that's something that my kids drilled in my head, and I just didn't want to hear it. And it's something that as soon as I stepped into it, I get it, because I feel better. I've had some challenges with my health, but that's just my body extracting things and saying I don't want these things anymore. But they're very much in tune with their frequency, the things that they eat, even how much clutter they put in their lives. They really don't. They don't want a lot of clutter. And I'm sure many of you know that feeling when you say, hey, do you want this? Do you want this? And they're like, hey, we're not taking that stuff with us. You know what? If we need it, we'll get it later, but we're not taking it with us. So let's support our millennials. And I'm sharing this. This is really the beginning. This week is the beginning of a lot of realization. And, so as, these skin things are coming out, or as you're like getting, like feeling a little irritated and you don't really want to listen to the people around you, take time to listen to what people are saying. Take time to listen to the baby boomers. Take time to listen to your generation, to the younger generation. Let's all learn from each other, because there's something really valuable in being part of a whole. Is that we were all born to be a grandparent, parent, child, brother, sister, friend. So we all have this amazing, unique purpose, and we chose to come here together. So we can also choose to understand and get along, and most of all, forgive. It's about forgiveness. So when you are talking to someone, or they're talking to you, let's start this week by learning to be more present and learning to really hear what people are saying, because the mind can be our biggest enemy. It can already assume things, and the paranoid mind is so dangerous. So really listen to what people are saying. When we put those filters of perception already in there and prejudge things, we get lost and we totally lose what is really being communicated. So I'm going to start this out just with this week, and this is today we are, we're in the week of June the 18th. And really, today is June the 18th, and you'll probably be getting this the next day, but it's really important to stay as organic as possible, and that means take away all the veils and all the layers of clutter that you've built up throughout the years. And if you've been stuffed with a bunch of whether it be medication, maybe you're putting things in your body just to feel more energy, or you've got all the energy you need. You just need to get back to loving yourself and doing some breathing. It starts with the breath. When the breath can be felt through the body, the mind clears, and we make better decisions. Simplify your life. You know, we have neighbors, we have friends, we have family. We don't need, you know, to everybody to have a swimming pool. We don't need everybody to have a ping pong table. We don't need everybody to have a swing set. Let's get back to getting together and sharing. And, you know, think about the tens and billions of dollars that actually are spent on, you know, and I'm sorry, like, you know, there's people out there that have games and things like that, but whatever happened to game night and sharing? I would love to see and hear from all of you in different ways that you are simplifying your life, like whether it be having a game night, um, just sharing like a book club, things like that. Like let's get back to that. What are you teaching your kids? You know, how are you taking time with your kids? This year was the first year I decided I am not going out and buying a bunch of things for a fairy garden, because I was doing that with my grandkids. We're gonna make things. And we started just making things, just like the old days. You could like take a rock and you can actually take that rock, you don't even have to draw on it, and you can use your imagination, and that's a home. That's a home. And, you know, the fairies, they're in our mind. Let's talk about that. So I've really started to be as organic as possible. And I'm working at it one step at a time. So I really want to reach out to anybody that is a member of that X generation. If you're a mom or you're a dad and you've been feeling guilty, you feel at loss or disconnected to your kids, you're not alone. But forgive yourself and know that you did the best. And even when we're doing our best, sometimes we make mistakes. But it's in understanding and forgiving yourself. Your kids will naturally forgive you. But if you keep apologizing to them, they're going to get tired of it. Trust me, I know that. So take the time to go back to the soil. When I say the soil, that's where you come from. As natural as possible, as beautiful as possible. That's who you are. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures and just some things that mean a lot to me. And I know a lot of you have seen my fairy garden, but what I did this year is I took out all the figures and all the, like, just so many things that I had planted, and our fairy garden now has its own forest, and it brings the birds. Still got a couple little things, but if you can remember, we had a storm, so we had a branch fall. But this is the little, if you remember, my fairy garden was just cluttered with all kinds of plastic figures, but now there's some sage, and this fairy garden is open for the imagination. That's what I'm saying, keeping it simple. Now you don't have to take everything away. I still have a swing set for my grandkids, and we have a trampoline, but look at the beauty. The flowers. I mean, you can't, I mean, like here we clutter things up. I still have my little Buddha garden that I put in, but and there's a prayer garden, and that means something to me, but I'm not adding more. I'm not spending any more dollar bills. I'm saving that. And that's what's important, is really saving it and preserving, saving that money, and realizing that, you know, we spend all this money, and that takes away the time for us to do what's important. So let's get rid of the debt. Let's get rid of the debt that's happening. Throw your credit card out, pay them off. Chances are, if you need something, probably someone has it. Trade it, collaborate. I'm also excited, I'll be sharing more about a wonderful collaborative community and a project called cloud farming. I'm so excited about it. It's a way of sharing your gifts, sharing a new form of currency, and a way of connecting. Each of you has such a wonderful gift to share, and I can't wait. Terry Burton, my good friend, will be joining me. We're putting everything together, and I can't wait. We're going to be on WAKT and other stations starting here in Toledo, and sharing with people a new way that you can thrive, a new way that you can succeed, and a new way that you can go organic. And you don't even have to worry about it, because there's already seeds that have been planted. I'm Kimmie Rose. Thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to hearing more from you. And please, if you can, I really would like to share with other people ideas on how you are going organic. Maybe you're building a tiny home. Maybe, I won't even say anymore. How are you doing it? Thank you. Have a blessed week.